Before we start, just to remind everyone, as advised in advance, this session will be recorded. It will also be available online for those who are unable to attend today's briefing, or for your own reference at a future time. You should also have received in advance an agenda for this session, and a post-nomination pack will be issued to you. Okay, so if we can start off, and first of all, good afternoon, and thank you for joining. I'm Cleland Snedden. I'm the returning officer for the UK Parliamentary by-election for Rutherglen and Hamilton West constituency. I'd like to welcome you to the post-nominations awareness session, and hopefully you'll find this session useful. There's a few other colleagues I'd like to introduce you to who are on the call. First of all, my Deputy Returning Officer, Gordon Stewart, on the call. His colleague Tracy O'Hara from our election team, and also we've been joined by Chief Inspector Stevie McGovern from Police Scotland, who is supporting this election. I'd like to run through the aims of the session, and the purpose of the session is to discuss with you the contents of the post-nomination pack following the close of nominations on Tuesday, the 12th of September. I'd like to provide you a little more detailed information on the poll, the postal vote arrangements, and on the count, and obviously provide an opportunity for you to ask any questions. And feel free to ask any questions at any point. Just use the hand icon function on Teams, and I'll try to bring you in, and there'll be an opportunity for questions at the end if you wish. If there's anyone unable to use the hand icon, if you can maybe just interrupt, just shout up, and we'll try and take questions as we go through the session. A note of this afternoon's session has also been prepared and will be provided to you after today's meeting. There's also a slide deck presentation that will also be shared with you. So if everyone's okay, I'll maybe run through quite a bit of information, so we'll try and take it step by step. So first of all, you will have received the post-nomination pack, and that contains a number of documents. Some of those documents are statutory in nature, and others provide specific local information relating to the Rutherglen and Hamilton West constituency. We'll also provide some advice in relation to the raising awareness of the voter identification requirements for this election. So these documents have been included in your pack, and that is to help inform you of the next steps in the by-election process following the close of nominations at 4 o'clock on Tuesday of this week. The first three documents in the post-nomination pack are the statutory notices which must be published, and this has been done in public-facing council offices and libraries in the South Lanarkshire area, but also on the council's website at www.southlanarkshire.gov.uk. These notices are, first of all, the notice of poll and the statement of persons nominated, and you'll find that at Appendix 1. Following the close of nominations, we can confirm there are a total of 14 candidates standing in the Rutherglen and Hamilton West constituency within South Lanarkshire. The ballot paper has the candidates listed in the same order as the notices, that is, alphabetical order by surname, and a box opposite each candidate to allow electors to cast their vote. Those who opted for a no home address on the ballot paper will have the wording address in Rutherglen and Hamilton West constituency in place of the address. The second document is the notice of candidates and election agents, and that's in your packet Appendix 2. This document is self-explanatory. That is, the details relating to each of the election agents for the candidates who are standing. The third document is a notice of situation of polling places. You'll find that in your pack at Appendix 3. This document was provided as part of your nomination pack as well, and these notices are displayed in various public-facing council offices and on the council website, as mentioned. Within your pack, you will also have at Appendix 4 some information in relation to voter identification. And I'm sure you're all aware that photographic identification must be produced by voters voting at a UK parliamentary election. Appendix 4 details the acceptable forms of that identification that can be used. Yeah, I'll move on to notification of appointment of counting and polling agents and the appointment of postal vote agents, which you'll find information in relation to Appendix 5 in the pack. So this form allows candidates to appoint as many polling agents as considered necessary to attend the polling places. However, the number of counting agents is based on the maximum attendees to ensure the safe conduct of the count within the venue. This is dictated by the capacity of the venue, and at this point in time, I have allowed 6 counting agents for each of the candidates, in addition to the candidate and in addition to their election agent. So 8 people per candidate in total. If there's an undersubscription of those places as we go through the process, we will look to reallocate spaces that have not been taken up by any candidate. The statutory deadline for returning this form is on Thursday, the 28th of September. However, it is helpful if you can return the document much earlier, and that allows us to prepare the passes, allow them to be put into production at the close of this date. And on receipt of your completed documentation, you'll be advised of the arrangements for picking up your passes in advance of attending the count. In relation to postal voting agents, if you're appointing postal voting agents to attend the postal voting opening sessions, the deadline for this form is different. You must return the postal votes agents form in advance of the relevant session that you or your agent wishes to attend. The opening sessions are detailed in Appendix 5, and I'll talk through that process later on in today's briefing. In relation to car parking passes, there is no reserve parking for this event. Parking is available in Beckford Street and outside Montrose House, as well as the very large car park at the rear of the Council Headquarters building. There is disabled parking in Beckford Street opposite the Sheriff Court. The remaining items in your post-nomination pack will be referred to as we go through the rest of today's agenda. Okay, I'm just going to stop there if there's any questions or queries in relation to that first part. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands, I'll move on. So if I move to postal and proxy vote arrangements and the issue of postal votes, as the date for the issue of postal votes draws closer, I would remind you of the 2 key principles when dealing with postal votes, and indeed, to be fair, all election arrangements. In the Electoral Commission's Code of Conduct for candidates and agents, it specifies that candidates and agents should uphold the secrecy of the ballot. Secondly, candidates and agents should not place themselves in a situation where their honesty or integrity can be questioned. The deadline for postal vote applications or changes to existing arrangements will be 5 p.m. on Wednesday, the 20th of September 2023. And you can download application forms from the Electoral Registration Office website or from www.gov.uk/register-to-vote. Just a quick reminder when the postal votes will be dispatched. So the first run, which will go out first class, the application deadline for registration and postal votes being the 30th of August, Wednesday the 30th of August at 5 p.m. Those will be dispatched on Wednesday the 20th of September 2023. First class, we would anticipate the vast majority of those will land on the doorsteps the next morning. The second run of postal votes and the deadline for registration of those is Wednesday the 20th of September 2023. Those will be issued on Tuesday the 26th of September first class. So we would anticipate with first class delivery, most households will receive their postal votes the following day. Postal voting packs include a ballot paper and a postal voting statement. Voters must provide their date of birth and signature, unless waived, on the postal voting statement for their vote to be counted. If someone's unable to sign, they should apply for a waiver prior to the deadline of 5 p.m. on Wednesday, the 20th of September 2023. If a postal voter loses or spoils their postal voting pack, a replacement can be issued by contacting the election office up until 5 p.m. on polling day. Moving to proxy votes, if someone is too late to apply for a postal vote, or they will be away when the postal vote is due to be delivered, they may wish to consider appointing a proxy to vote on their behalf. The deadline for applying to appoint a proxy is 5 p.m. on Wednesday, the 27th of September 2023. Moving to the notice of opening of postal votes, and you'll find that in your pack at Appendix 6A. The statutory notice of opening of postal votes is enclosed within the pack. This notice advises on the venue and dates for the opening of postal vote sessions. As I mentioned earlier, candidates must ensure they've completed and returned their appointment of postal voting agents prior to the opening session. So the form needs to be back prior to the opening session that their agent wants to attend. Entry will be by appointment, and a member of staff will be on duty to meet your postal voting agent at the agreed time at the West Wing reception of the council offices in Almada Street in Hamilton, and they will escort them to and from the postal vote opening session venues in the banqueting hall, where they can observe the postal vote opening of envelopes, the scanning and adjudication processes. In an effort to raise awareness of what actually happens at the opening of postal votes, I have, however, prepared an outline procedure that's also detailed within your Appendix 6B, and it's worth a few minutes just to walk through that procedure. So on Tuesday, the 26th of September 2023 through to Friday, the 29th of September 2023, the opening procedure will be as follows. To assist with the workflow, the procedure for the first week is simply to prepare the envelopes received for the full opening sessions, which will commence on Monday, the 2nd of October. Therefore, only stage 1A of the process will be carried out in that first week. Stage 1A, postal vote assistants and supervisors opening the outer envelopes, removing the postal voting statements ready for verification, and batching envelope A. So that envelope, that's the one that contains the ballot paper. So please note that envelope A will not be opened on the first day of opening. Moving to the procedure from the 2nd of October, which runs through to the poll day of Thursday, the 5th of October. So the opening procedure will be as follows. Stage 1A, postal vote assistants and supervisors, and they will continue initially to work on stage 1A as we've just detailed. At stage 1B, postal vote team leaders will scan the postal voting statements, adjudicate on postal voting statements, and instruct on the opening of envelope A. At stage 2A, postal vote assistants and supervisors, on the instruction of the postal vote team leader, they will commence stage 2A by opening envelope A, removing the ballot paper, and keeping all ballot papers face down so that they cannot be seen. At stage 2B, the postal vote team leader will then scan the back of the ballot papers and reconcile the paperwork processed for each particular day, and that will include any returning officer adjudications. Stage 2C, the postal vote team leaders will place accepted ballot papers in the allocated ballot box and then seal the ballot box. So whilst it's possible to observe that full process, obviously you will not be able to see the ballot papers neither when the ballot paper envelope is opened nor when the ballot papers are scanned. And I would remind you that the ballot paper sampling is not permitted during the opening sessions. So hopefully that gives you an understanding of what takes place during those processes. Move on to poll card letters, and I mentioned in your pre-nomination pack the first run of poll card letters will be posted on Wednesday the 13th of September, and those registering later but before the registration deadline, which is Tuesday the 19th of September, those will be posted on Tuesday the 26th of September 2023. So again, I'm just taking another pause in case there's any questions or queries in relation to the information shared so far. Jai McNulty, sorry, I don't have first names. Can I bring you in? I'm afraid you're still muted. Still muted.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Right. No, I was just checking, read the postal vote. I take it that if someone hasn't delivered their, if someone hasn't sent away their postal vote, they can take it down to their their local polling station, yeah, on the day.
Yes, they can.
Yes, they can.
Right, that's okay. That's fine.
Okay. Not seeing any other hands. So if you're okay, I'll just continue on. Yeah, that's great. So moving on to the arrangements in force at the poll, and you'll find details of this information at Appendix 7 in your pack. So this document has been prepared to outline some of the local arrangements at the polling places. However, I'd like to point out a few key issues within that document. First of all, the display of advertisements or publicity materials. And as you will be aware from the information we've shared, guidelines were issued as part of that nomination pack, and the two documents advise that the council does not permit fly posting on street furniture or this display of A-frames outside polling places. If any of your supporters disregard this, you'll be contacted immediately to arrange for the removal of any materials, failing which the council staff will remove them. In relation to campaigning and leafleting, that's not permitted within the curtilage of the polling place. For most, there is a perimeter fence, and that would define the curtilage. But however, in the polling places where the entrance or exit for the building is straight onto the pavement, this means the building is the curtilage. The presiding officer at station number 1 within the polling place will have a layout plan that will show the curtilage of the building, and has been asked to ensure that candidates and agents are clear on this on the day. Candidates and agents can, where reasonable, be located at the entrance to polling places or even inside in very inclement weather, and we sometimes have that in South Lanarkshire. But care must be taken to ensure that voters don't feel obstructed in the way in or intimidated in any way. We need to ensure the area doesn't be congested and that there's strictly no leafleting within the curtilage of the building. Presiding officers have been asked to ensure this remains the case throughout the day, and they'll liaise with the election office should any issues arise. But as returning officer, I'll have final discretion on any issues. What I would ask for is the support of candidates and agents to ensure that our intervention is not necessary, if you can ensure your colleagues are briefed. In relation to rosettes with candidate or party details, those are permitted to be worn. However, if someone's in the polling station for a prolonged period of time, for example, for the purposes of detecting personation, they should remove the rosette. And there is strictly no photographs to be taken within the polling station. So what would you expect on polling day? I know that a number of you have been over the course before, but for those who have not a lot of experience of polling day. So first of all, the election office here at Armada Street will be open from 6 AM in the morning. Any issues that arise during the course of polling day should be directed to the election office, and election staff can be contacted, and I'll give the number here, but it's in the pack, on 01698 455745. In relation to polling staff, the arrangements would be as follows. Our polling staff will arrive at 6:30 AM to set up in good time for the opening of the poll at 7 AM. There will be one presiding officer and one polling clerk on duty at each polling station. In polling places with 3 or more stations, there may be additional information officers to help people navigate to the appropriate place. A polling station inspector will visit the polling places at the start of poll to support poll staff and the election office team and assist throughout the day, to be honest, with any arrangements that are necessary. We will also have standby polling staff who have been recruited, and we can deploy them at short notice if there's last-minute call-offs. In terms of voter turnout information, to assist candidates and agents, the presiding officer at station number 1 will display a notice detailing voter turnout, and they'll try and update that approximately every 2 hours. The notice will be displayed near the entrance to the polling place, but clearly agents can ask for turnout information at any time. However, our priority is to ensure that voters get to vote, and if the presiding officer is busy with voters, those voters will take priority. However, as stated, we will try to make sure, as a minimum, the notice is updated every 2 hours. In relation to our polling places, there have been a couple of changes to the polling places from the last time an election took place in this constituency, and I'll just run through those just now. So due to the closure of Spring Wells Community Centre, voters will now vote at Auchenwraith Primary School, and voters who previously voted in Montrose House will now vote in the council offices in Almada Street in Hamilton. Okay, again, I'm just going to stop and check if there's any questions or queries in relation to what's been shared. Okay, again, not seeing any hands, so I'll now move on to share some information on the count arrangements. So attendance at the count is by pass only. The count starts at 10 p.m. following the close of poll, and it will be held in the banqueting hall, council offices, Almada Street in Hamilton. We'll set up some hospitality, tea, coffee and biscuits, etc. will be provided. However, please refrain from taking those drinks into the count area itself. Excuse me. The following documents are also included within your post-nomination pack, and they'll provide you with some information on the count arrangements. So first of all, a draft count layout plan at Appendix 8. The count pack will be issued with your passes will contain the finalised version of the layout plan. We're just doing some measurements at the moment. The count information pack will be issued with the candidates and agents passes, and it will contain that final detail. We will also have some information in relation to the arrangements in force at the poll, and you'll find that in Appendix 9. This statutory notice details the timing of the events at the count venue. The allocation of passes, which I'd mentioned earlier, just to be clear, there will be a pass for the candidate, a pass for their agent, and 6 counting agents, so 8 passes in total. If, however, there is a lower uptake of the available passes, and we're aware of that, then we'll look to redistribute the passes accordingly. Therefore, the number of counting agents you may appoint to attend the counting of votes is 6, and a notice in writing of the agent's appointment stating their names and addresses of the persons must be lodged with the election office and with me not later than Thursday, the 28th of September. And I've provided some forms for that purpose as part of the post-nomination pack, but please note you're required to sign these prior to their submission. In relation to recounts, if you feel there's anything wrong or anything you're unhappy with or you've seen throughout the process of the count, then please don't wait to the end of the night when I have discussed the result with you before raising these issues or asking for a recount. Please bring them to me as you are concerned. There would need to be appropriate grounds for requesting a recount. I want to be absolutely clear here that a close result is not sufficient grounds for me to instruct a recount. There needs to be grounds for a recount being asked for. So please speak to an information officer at any time during the count to let me know if you've got any concerns. Okay, note from Electoral Registration Officer, you will find that at Appendix 10. This document should assist with information relating to the Electoral Registration Office. If candidates and agents require further information, please contact the Electoral Registration Office direct. And conducting your campaign and security advice. So you'll find some information at Appendix 11 within the pack. In terms of conducting your campaign, we can't give you any legal or other advice about how you or your team conduct your election campaign, or about how you behave during that campaign. So it's our job to run the election. We don't police or regulate it, and you need to have regard to your own legal liabilities and your own conduct. If you have any specific concerns about the behaviour of any candidates or how they're campaigning, then you should contact either Police Scotland or the Electoral Commission as appropriate. One of our key principles is to ensure that we run a safe election. So we have today Stevie McGovern, the Chief Inspector from Police Scotland, with us. At this point, Stevie, I think it's fair to say we are unaware of any specific threat that would jeopardise this election or that candidates and agents should be aware of. However, you'd probably be looking for them to have regard to their own safety throughout. Is that a fair comment?
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Stedding. I must stress that at this present time, there is no current intelligence to suggest that a specific threat in relation to this election or any candidate standing that we're aware of. And throughout the process, we will continually monitor this.
That's great. And bear in mind that our colleagues in Police Scotland, if any candidate or agent has any concerns relating to safety, during the course of the campaign or the election event itself, colleagues in Police Scotland stand ready to provide advice. So thanks again, Stevie. So post-election information, I will discuss the following items in a bit more detail with you at the poll and count sessions on Tuesday the 26th of September at 5 p.m. So again, we will issue out an invite to a further session on that date. But we'll provide some information to you then about marked registers, the limit on election expenses. You'll find some information in Appendix 12 of your post-nomination pack, which provides you with some updated electorate information relating to the expenses limit and a link to the Electoral Commission's website under documentation and forms in relation to election expenses. The Electoral Commission return of election expenses document, that's at Appendix 13, and I would specifically flag that up to those of you who have not been over this particular course before, just to make sure you're aware of the requirements to submit that information and the deadlines that relate to that. I want to cover a bit further information in relation to public awareness campaigns, because this, I think, is the first full electoral event in Scotland where the voter identification requirements will be deployed. They were part of the petitions process, but we are running a number of local public awareness campaigns, which will be ongoing throughout the campaign period, including press releases. We're using the South Lanarkshire Council website. We're using a range of social media channels that the council operates from, and we put out statutory notices which are published where possible. And we've got information from the election and the electoral registration office helplines, and we use our local mechanism through the South Lanarkshire View content. We have also had access to some materials that the Electoral Commission have made available to us to promote awareness around voter identification, and we'll continue to look at that. We're looking at other mechanisms as well, potentially looking at some video feed, walking someone through a mock attendance at a polling place, and again, just to try to use as many channels as we possibly can to ensure that all voters have the opportunity to vote on the day. Okay, before I go to what's next and next steps, can I just stop there if there's any questions or queries? I know that voter identification is quite a new concept up here in Scotland, but just check. I'm not seeing any hands, so I'll finish off with the last couple of sections then. So what's next? So I mentioned earlier, a polling day and count awareness session will be held on Tuesday the 26th of September at 5 p.m. And the purpose of that session will be to provide an update on postal vote arrangements, to discuss polling day arrangements in a bit more detail, to discuss the count arrangements in a bit more detail, and to provide information in relation to post-election arrangements. And finally, to provide an opportunity to ask any questions in advance of poll day and the count procedure. So our staff, our colleagues in the Electoral Registration Office, our colleagues in Police Scotland are available to all candidates and agents. If there are any questions, once you've had an opportunity to go through the post-nomination pack and the information that's contained, if there's any questions that arise, please get in touch with us. There are no stupid questions. We would welcome just the ability to provide any clarification. So on that basis, and the fact that I'm not seeing any further hands, that brings this session to a close. But as I said, please keep in touch. If there's anything we can help with, we are here to do exactly that. My final ask of you, and this is one as returning officer, I know that this is a high-profile election. It's a high-stakes election, and there's a lot riding on it for a number of parties or individuals. But please, can you share with your colleagues, your supporters, your agents, just the information we've shared around our expectations about the conduct of the election and the requirements we have in terms of how people operate during that election period. Ideally, we don't need to intervene if everybody sticks to the guidance we've put in place. But please, if you can, even in these highly emotive times, if you can ensure that people conduct themselves well during that election event, then hopefully it will go off without a mishap. So thank you for your attendance. Thank you very much for joining us today. I really do appreciate it. And for those who can join us at the next session, I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.